Roger Corman's American International Pictures were really picking up steam, and he was getting an awful lot of praise because of the work that started to come out with the Edgar Allan Poe films. And they were gorgeous and making a lot of money. So Roger continued with the Filmgroup on the side, and he had a production deal in Puerto Rico to do two movies, Creature from the Haunted Sea and The Last Woman on Earth. And they were made just to take advantage of the fact that Roger could make a couple of movies quickly in Puerto Rico and get some tax incentives or whatever was going on. Both films, they had the same cast, Anthony Carbone and Betsy Jones Moreland. For Last Woman on Earth, which Robert Towne of Chinatown fame had worked on the script, he was also drafted as an actor. Why not? He was there. Let's throw him in front of the camera. So there we go.
The most improbable event of the 20th century occurred in Havana, Cuba. The revolutionary victors marched in, and the national complexion changed completely. They had been liberated. The survivors of the old regime escaped as best they could, taking with them only a few meager effects, such as the Cuban treasury and other art objects. It wasn't always easy to smuggle a loot out of Cuba, and so secret meetings were being held all over the island.
Creature from the Haunted Sea was really a send-up of films like Creature from the Black Lagoon and all those other monster pictures, some of which Roger Corman had actually made. But here the creature is just so ridiculous, and he attacks a group of criminals who are trying to get away with some treasure. It's a wonderful looking monster with ping pong ball eyes. The whole thing is massively tongue-in-cheek, which kind of became a little bit of an identification with Filmgroup. But they also were doing serious films as well. Now, I don't know how seriously one would take The Last Woman on Earth. The idea that all of the oxygen is eliminated from the air during a period when our three leads are actually underwater. And then they emerge from the water and everybody's dead. Okay, three's a crowd. What's Betsy Jones Moreland gonna do? There we go. There's the whole crux of the movie, which is shot in a series of motels, it looked like, in Puerto Rico, and it's a little threadbare.
All right. We're in a rotten situation, an unprecedented one. But I'm not going to fall apart, and neither's anyone else, as long as I can help it. Look, you don't build all at once. I didn't make my money in one day.
You lost it in 20 minutes.
Now, we're going to work out a plan, and we're going to take it step by step. If you take things as they come, if you do them step by step, we're going to be all right.
However, once again, Filmgroup came through beautifully with a fantastic poster for The Last Woman on Earth, with promises all kinds of great sexy business, and delivers none of it.
No matter where you go or what you do or whom you kill, I'll love you till the day I die.
It was successful because of what a wonderful title, and they had this tremendous ad campaign. Now, when in talking ad campaigns, Roger and Gene were just hitting it with these fantastic artworks for their posters. Creature from the Haunted Sea is the one with the great giant green fist holding the girl as it's protruding from the waves. Just tremendous. And you wish, yes, wow, is the Creature from the Haunted Sea something that's, 50 stories tall? Well, no. He's also, a goofball. But the movie is fun. Yes, it is also a little threadbare because it was shot so quickly, but it has so much spirit to it. And you just enjoy going along for the ride. And I think that's also another hallmark of the film group. If the scenes show, it's because what you're also would be enjoying is part of the filmmaking process while you're watching the movie.
Well, I don't know how to tell you. It isn't too pleasant. Your uncle's dead.
Well, that's why I'm here. I was his only living relative. I figured I'd better come by.
How'd you know he was dead? He only died 4 days ago.
Well, I didn't. You see, he wrote me a letter a short while back asking me to get over as quick as I could. He said he wasn't feeling well.
Well, your uncle didn't die from natural causes. In fact, he may have been murdered. I'm not sure.
Murdered?
Creature from the Haunted Sea was released on a double bill with a movie called The Devil's Partner. That was a pickup for the Cormans, directed by Charles Rondeau. And Charles Rondeau was very successful in television. And the film is actually in its way kind of a precursor to later devil-worshipping films and satanic films that took place in small towns and rural locations, and you could almost draw parallels to, I would say, the Brotherhood of Satan, Race with the Devil, The Devil's Reign, that kind of incongruous thing of Satanism and the devil in the middle of the desert.
Prince, what's the matter with you? Prince, it's me!
And has a wonderful performance by Edgar Buchanan. And again, Gene Corman's own influence and his connections as an agent, I'm sure, had a great deal to do with bringing in some significant names for Devil's Partner. And Charles Rondeau, the director, also directed The Girl in Lover's Lane for Roger and Gene. But we're still looking at these as black and white double features, and that world is starting to implode. And in fact, the argument that the black and white double features were no longer working was one of the reasons that American International Pictures took the chance to finance The House of Usher. Roger Corman had made that argument himself. Hammer Films had imported The Curse of Frankenstein and Horror of Dracula, and soon The Mummy, and they took theater owners by storm. They couldn't believe that horror pictures could make this kind of money, but they were making this kind of money because they were new, they were in color, they had wonderful acting in them, and also liberal sex and violence. So Corman, with Filmgroup and making these movies, is kind of working against his own argument in a way. He got American International back away from the black and white double features, but went ahead and started making black and white double features himself.
What you gonna do with that?
Don't worry. I'm not gonna harm you. Do you remember what I told you this afternoon at the station?
You told me you wanted me to help you do something. Yeah, that's what you said.
No, wait.
Robert Towne, as a writer, and this is of course long before Chinatown and The Last Detail, worked for Roger on a number of scripts. During the Filmgroup period, after Last Woman on Earth, Towne was given the assignment, I Flew a Spy Plane Over Russia. That was going to be the next project, and Roger thought it was perfect for the Filmgroup. As of today, Towne never turned in that script, and Roger Corman mentions this every once in a while in interviews that, yes, I think Robert's still working on the first draft of that one. One person who contributed so much to the Filmgroup releases and contributed just so much to Roger's films just in general was the composer Ronald Stein. His score for Last Woman on Earth is wonderful, as is his score for The Terror. He was also working for Roger at American International and was responsible for the music for The Premature Burial, Just Wonderful, and also the beautiful score for The Haunted Palace. This shows, again, that Roger was always going to turn to the people that he trusted, the people that he knew, and those were the ones he was going to have work for him at Filmgroup or Allied Artists or American International or wherever he went. He wanted that crew with him.
Maybe he knows what he's talking about. Maybe he's not so stupid. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll keep you and this dumbbell junior for a week. If you can noise it back to Elk, you both can stay. If you can't, you're both fired.
Oh, gee, thank you, Mr. Mushnick.
Don't feel sad, Seymour.
Don't waste your pity on me, Audrey. I'm not worth it.
Who says you're not?
Everybody.
Probably the most famous and sometimes infamous film group production, and probably most famous of Roger Corman's films. Really, if you take the hard look, Little Shop of Horrors, made for $28,000, shot supposedly in 2 days on a very limited set, with just wonderful performances by Jonathan Hayes and Mel Wells and Jackie Joseph, and of course the great Dick Miller.
They are all right?
Well, I've had better.
Well, this is a small shop.
Oh, that's okay. You know, those big places, they're full of pretty flowers, expensive flowers. When you raise them for looks and smell, you're bound to lose some food value. I like to eat these little out-of-the-way places.
Ah! Such a thing, eating flowers.
Look, don't knock it until you try it, huh?
Now, the thing about Little Shop of Horrors is it was the brainchild of Charles B. Griffith. And Chuck Griffith, as a screenwriter, had a long history with Roger. Before things like It Conquered the World, and he wrote the screenplay to Ski Troop Attack with absolutely none of his wild, trademarked humor, which was what he was really famous for, all the way into things like Death Race 2000 and his other scripts. The humor was the big component, and Ski Troop Attack, interestingly, had none of that. It was just sobering war material. Little Shop of Horrors was the absolute exact opposite of that. Now, if the film is really beyond Roger's involvement, it's famous because of Jack Nicholson playing the sadomasochist who spends all of his time at the dentist. It's a very funny performance, but Jack was also part of Corman's troupe.
Most people don't like to go to the dentist, but I rather enjoy it myself, don't you? I mean, there's a real feeling of growth, of progress when that old drill goes in. I mean, I'd almost rather go to the dentist than anywhere, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Now, no Novocaine. It dulls the senses.
This is gonna hurt you more than it is me.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes. Oh, my God, don't stop now!
He'd already been in Crybaby Killer and and The Wild Ride, and Nicholson was right there with Roger. Hey, what are you doing? Let's get together. Let's make a film. And Roger would call in Jack when he had a part, and there you go. So it was, once again, just this whole thing of youth, and Corman knew that you went to these people and they wanted opportunity. Not necessarily money, although money is always nice, but they wanted the chance to show what they could do. They wanted the chance to function as actors, as camera people, as set builders, as all of those wonderful things. And Roger was giving them this opportunity. And this has been consistent throughout his entire career. Some people would say, well, he was taking advantage of their desire to make films, of their desire to direct or act or whatever it is. That's true. But nobody else was affording them this chance. So Roger gets a bargain. He gets dedicated, enthusiastic people to work with. And guess what? At the end of the day, they end up with a movie.
Eat me. Eat me.
Look, Chowhound, don't bother me. I got problems of my own.
Feed me.
I'm sorry, pal. I'm fresh out of blood. Talk to somebody else.
I'm hungry.
I don't care what you are. Can't you see I'm knocked out? I just killed a man. I'm a murderer. You think it's fun to be a murderer? You think it's fun to haul around a sack full of
food?
Oh, no, know, Junior. What kind of guy do you think I am?
And that's one of the wonderful things about Little Shop of Horrors, even though Corman did direct it, is you feel all that wonderful kinetic energy from all of these people investing themselves in this crazy movie. Now, Roger tried to follow it up with a good movie, a lot of fun, Bucket of Blood, starring Dick Miller. But with all the Charles Addams humor and what have you, but that ended up being released by American International because they had seen the success that Roger had had with Little Shop of Horrors, which starts with an animated cartoon, credits, and the credits look almost like graffiti almost. And then there's animated end credits as well. So all of these kind of elements were things that American International was hoping to repeat. They did to a degree with Bucket of Blood. But what's interesting to me is you look at that movie, if you look at Bucket of Blood and the wild humor and murdering people to create statues and get fame as a beatnik artist and all the rest of it, there's a streak of it, of the kind of the outlandishness of it, that found its way into the later Beach Party movies. So it's funny that Bucket of Blood actually has had this impact on other American International pictures. But Bucket of Blood's birthplace was the flower shop in Little Shop of Horrors. Without Audrey screaming, "Feed me, feed me," none of the rest of this would have worked.
You dirty rat plant, you messed up my whole life. Feed me! I'll feed you. I'll feed you like you've never been fed before.